Ooh, welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Listen, thank you for joining us today. Look at the ladies. The ladies are joining me today. I think the gentlemen are going to join us. I think that they are. We hope. We hope. Welcome wherever you are joining us from, wherever you are seeing us. We are on Facebook and we are on YouTube in 4 different spaces. And so wherever you are seeing us, we want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Glad you all are joining us. I am Shazetta Morris. We've got here with us Bernicia Jackson and Brianna Jackson, and we are 3 out of the 5 LYFE Forum partners that are here today to facilitate this LYFE Forum session on accountability. I'm going to let each and every one of them introduce themselves, and let's see if we're hearing and sensing clearly, because I'm seeing us on YouTube, I'm watching us on Facebook, trying to manage all of those different pieces while we're still learning this system. So one of you ladies, say hi.
Hey.
That's how we're going to say hey? That's how we're going to do it?
Right.
Hello, hello,
Yeah, there you
hi.
go.
Hello,
That was
hello,
nice. It
hi.
was Queen Hops would be so proud of you with that jingle. Yes.
I love it.
Because see, she come up with that kind of stuff. Yes. Listen, we've been on hiatus for a couple of weeks. Feels like a long
Ooh,
time, right?
been a little bit longer than a couple weeks.
A couple of weeks, a few weeks.
Yeah.
Don't shout me out. I already got shouted out, which is the impetus of this conversation tonight, right? It
Mm.
has been. Has it been a couple of weeks?
We haven't been on since
Yeah,
August.
since we concluded Project 2025, right?
That was in August. That was before your
Saints
birthday.
of the Most High God, y'all let me get away with that?
Yes, we was on break.
We was on break.
Project 2025 was a lot to digest, a lot to process.
It was. It
Hmm.
was. I agree. If you're on any of these social media platforms with us, if you engaged in the Project 2025 experience and you remember it, we have a whole bunch of footage that we can go back on and review those pieces. So you're absolutely right, Brianna. It was a lot to digest. We did 6 straight weeks of that. But I don't think I recognized that we were out. This is October.
Yeah, we had a lot going on though. I think individually in our individual lives, like everybody just the time was needed.
Yeah, you giving us grace because my husband was fussing. And look, and he ain't even here. He coming though. He's coming later. That's it.
I don't see us live on
You
Facebook,
don't? We are.
guys.
We're on
Um,
all 4 spaces.
on
So
it.
we're
Is it supposed to show up on your
it's
page?
on my
How does it
page.
look? I was
I'll
just
go
on
Yeah,
there.
ahead.
it's there.
Um,
It's on the Evolution Church page. It's
Okay.
on the Coach She page.
um,
And it is on my single page. So we are there.
the
And we've got some
Shazetta Morris page is not live.
Yeah, it is. It's just that that page might be private to you all. So I need to figure out how to make it public. So I don't know why it keeps doing that. But remember, I was running into that situation before.
Mm,
And people kept saying, it's not there. You can't see it. You can't see it. But it is there.
okay.
It is there. I can.
Evolution is live.
Evolution is live. Coach C is live. And I'm seeing it on.
All right, I
You see
see
it
it now.
now? Okay.
Yes.
So maybe that's the delay. Listen, y'all with us while we figuring it all out. Right. And so we got pieces there. We got people coming in over there. Chat up and let us know where you're joining us from, because we see people now trickling in, and that's a great thing. We want to be able to respond in kind or in time to some of the questions and the answers that you might be providing to us. So let us know where you are seeing us from, and we're going to do our best to follow it all. What I haven't figured out is how to grab all of the comments in one place, but I'm trying to work that out. So we're going to do that as well. So yeah, we're going to get started here because it's ladies night.
I
It's
guess
ladies night,
so.
and Bree done walked off now. Bernicia done walked off. Listen, let me just give the caveat to every person out there. We are a kid friendly space.
Amen.
So if y'all see kids running up behind the screen, that's because we got kids and that's our life.
Life.
And so, yeah, that's what we manage and we maintain. All of our children are welcome on our platforms, and we appreciate the generation that is coming, listening to us, calling us out to be moms first, and then all of these other things that we do. So, yay, 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 yay! Welcome. Listen, can I tell you that this thing has been exciting to me because I know that we are expanding in some spaces, and it's important that we do. Um, a couple of weeks ago, for the public audience, we've been having some conversations with all of the busyness that we do have going on in our lives. And so I had the biggest, um, I had the biggest call out. There go Paris now. Hey, P. I had the biggest call out from the saints of God. Happy birthday, P. We're so grateful for another year of life.
Amen.
Yay. I had the biggest call out from this group of individuals, the ladies and the two gentlemen that are missing today. We're going to grab them up when we get to them, about some of the things that we had been walking through and discussing. And when I tell you that that conversation was the best conversation I had had in a long time. Brianna was probably shocked by the conversation, but it was
Yeah.
such a huge conversation. It was a good conversation. Why? Because it was time for me now to really kind of reconfigure some things and be held accountable for some of the stuff, a lot of the things that I was saying that needed to take place, but with all of the busyness, I had honestly been missing. You ever been in a space where you'd be like, listen, I know that there's a lot of things that need to go on, but I need to exit stage left for a little bit. And while that's a real thing, what I gathered from that experience is that I wasn't doing enough to seek out assistance in all of the things that I needed to do. So for me, Brianna and Bernicia, that conversation was the absolute blessing for me. Uh, it was because it made me aware that people loved me, people were still interested in um, having my presence. It wasn't necessary for me to be away in order to be a part. It was just a blessing for me on so many different levels. And so it prompted this conversation that I wanted us to have over the next few minutes about what we believe about accountability. Because in good relationships, accountability has to be a must.
Hmm.
I believe so. But before we get to that, how do you all define accountability? Let's start with that.
You said one word, right?
Well,
Um,
if you got one word or if you got several, how do you define accountability? Let's just, and if you are watching us, listen, if you have a definition for accountability, post it in the chat because I'm recognizing that everybody has different displays about what accountability looks like. And their expectations, sometimes a lot of people's expectations are not met because they can't even define it for themselves. So let's start
um,
with you, Bridget.
somebody being accountable, I would say, is somebody who's being responsible for their actions that have caused, I don't know. I don't want to say hurt, but majority of the time it's usually hurt that comes into play. But to just um yeah, to just take responsibility for your actions, how it affects you and how it affecting you affects others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just the gist of, I did look up a synonym though. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
synonyms they had, it said obedience, but I'm not sure how obedience would go into accountability.
Like use that as an example. Like use it in a sentence.
No, that's what I'm saying. I wasn't sure how. I actually just wanted to bring that up to see if one of you guys would just be able to try to figure out why obedience would have been some type of synonym for accountability.
That's so
I wonder.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Very.
Um, I'm, I'm a words person, so I was
Yes.
looking. I was saying it. Um, well, I was gonna. Well, for me, I was going responsible was just like at the top of my list, but I was wanted to see what else came up. But I'm sorry, I was cheating for a second. Uh, but I was trying to think how I don't know. I feel like that ties in. But anyway, to
Mm-hmm.
answer your question, to me, for accountability, would be somebody who's
Mm-hmm.
responsible. I don't think it's always in a
Mm-hmm.
negative. I mean, negative always
Mm-hmm.
shines brighter, but on the positive side, it's just meaning what you say and saying what you mean and doing and allowing actions to follow suit, allowing your actions to
Mm-hmm.
match what you said. Like, I feel like when you're accountable, like if you said you're gonna go left, like you gotta walk left. So like, all of those pieces have to line up. I don't know, that's what sticks out the most to me, as far as accountable, just the root of that anyway, accountability, the ability to be
Mm-hmm.
accounted. Like the dependable, which would be like your words are, we can rely
Mm-hmm.
on what you said and
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing. Um your feet got to meet your mouth.
Who used to make that statement? Yeah, I get it though, because I think that here is, as I was thinking about this whole idea of accountability, one of the definitions that we have here, they use the word in, they use the word account in the word accountability. So it says it's the idea that an individual is responsible for their actions. So it's not that you're choosing,
Mhm.
just choosing a thing. You become responsible for the activity of your action. And if that individual chooses unfavorable actions, they will face consequences. So you ever have those individuals that throw rocks and then hide their hands like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Mhm.
They try to skirt away from the ability to be responsible or respond in a way that would show their integrity, right?
Mhm.
Because accountability speaks to the idea that I have a integrity, whether right or wrong, I'm going to be truthful about this experience,
Right.
right? And so when I think about accountability, the first space that I need to be accountable to is myself. And the way I get to be accountable to myself is I base my I have to analyze my core values and my core values rather, in order to determine, am I standing on my particular value about a thing? Because most times people, and I want everybody who's listening anywhere, I want you to listen to me. Most times we are in performance mode versus accountability mode.
Mhm.
We will respond, we will say something to somebody and we will perform for them. We will do more for others than we will do for ourselves. And that, first of all, is outside of, or outline outside of the principle that God made us or needed us to be accountable within ourselves. It's the love God principle and love each other as you love yourself. If I am always basing my accountability on an outward experience, I will never be truthful to myself. And I
Mm.
think that that's something that people struggle with. Would I do this thing if nobody was watching?
True.
Would I be this person if nobody was looking at me? Or what would I be if, when people show up, when there's an audience, am I going to perform in a certain way just because the audience is there? Right? Have you ever watched that or even experienced that within yourself? Watch that with other people? Who do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I have.
Yeah.
I've thought about it. Yeah. I mean, because I just feel like it's just life. You know, sometimes you could just be tempted to do certain things, and you just like, if people are watching, would I really do it? Or even you having to deal with it within yourself, doing something, whether it's good or bad, would you just be satisfied with the decision to actually do it and what
Mm-hmm.
makes of it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I would say we probably just do that in life in general.
Mm-hmm.
If,
What do you say, B?
Um, Say that a
Which
different way.
part? Which part are we saying a different way?
Ask the question again.
Okay, so I started by saying most people really are in performance mode versus accountability, because accountability starts with self. There is a space in us that I think that
Right.
we will perform for other individuals because we said that we would do something for them. It gives us credence with them, credibility. But when it comes to us identifying, being accountable within ourselves, to ourselves about what it is that we say that we do for ourselves, we kind of let that lay waste.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, all right. I read that. I mean, or heard that
How did
differently
you
the
hear it?
first time. So I don't I don't even know. That's why I asked
Mm-hmm.
you to repeat it. Uh, I think that that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely true because it's easier to provide service to other people than it is for
Ooh.
ourselves. It hurts
Mm-hmm.
less.
Wow. Wait. Go back. Say that again. What does
It
that
hurts less.
mean?
Because when we okay, it's easier to push people to do what they're supposed to do versus pushing
Wow.
ourselves. Like, okay, you gotta do X,
Mm-hmm.
Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't want to do that. It's harder to motivate ourselves to like, okay, I know, but you told them you was gonna be there at
Mm-hmm.
7:30. I know, but if I could just lay here for another
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes, I'm telling you, I'm gonna be great. They're gonna have all
Mm-hmm.
of me if I just get this extra 5 minutes. But you told them 7:30, not
Mm-hmm.
7:35. It's just easier to be that for somebody else than it is for
Wow.
ourselves. I feel like at least it is for Bernicia
Okay.
Jackson.
I get it.
So
Well, thank you for telling that truth, Bernicia Jackson. But I'm trying to understand. I need to understand how we fell off the wagon for ourselves so much. Because, okay, so think about the basis, right? Jesus was a man who had a mission and a purpose. If we use the model and the principle of Jesus Christ, right? He didn't need to be held accountable for what he promised that he would do. He trusted himself to fulfill the mission. All of the other pieces played out. If you look at that story from that perspective, all of the other pieces played out over time, but the goal for him was always to fulfill the mission. And even when individuals discouraged him or tried to stop him from fulfilling what he knew he needed to fulfill, he was accountable within himself to ultimately make that sacrifice. Where have we gone off the ledge of not either learning how to be accountable to ourselves or even trusting ourselves enough to get something done?
I think that okay, so first of all, Jesus had a moment, like he had a moment where he wanted to stop. And he got over that moment. And I think for everybody ever for the worldly people,
Mm-hmm.
us, everybody that's
Mm-hmm.
not Jesus, it's hard to get past those moments. Like, and I know it sounds when you think about it after hearing about Jesus, said, "Let this cup pass over me." He said, "All right, never mind, I'll do it." To hear that,
Mm-hmm.
all right, I'll do it. To hear that Jesus was all like he was ready to throw in the towel, and he knew what he was about to
Mm-hmm.
have to endure to
Mm-hmm.
help us out. When you hear it, I feel like if I was able to think about that first when I'm in those kind of situations, like, all right, Jesus did it, I gotta do it. This is a small thing
Mm-hmm.
to a giant, right? Like Jesus
Mm-hmm.
did all of this, but it's like getting over those moments where it's like, the human part of our the flesh was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this. We get stuck
Mm-hmm.
in that moment. And like we don't have which where accountable where partners come
Mm-hmm.
from. Like, okay, Bernice said you said you were
Mm-hmm.
gonna do this. I know, but like right now, life is life in it, and I can't. I'm frustrated with this whole
Mm-hmm.
situation. I'm done. When we don't have the right people in
Wow.
our corner to be able to like
Mm-hmm.
push us or because every I don't care what nobody say everybody has a moment where they need some type of motivation.
Right.
Nobody's a super
Right.
saint. Like Anybody can say, oh no, I never feel like that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
always pursue with everything that
That's
I'm
not
supposed to do. I'm gonna
Yeah.
follow through. No,
Mm-hmm.
we're
it's
not.
a lot.
We're not. We all listen, you getting your doctorate. I know you be sitting at your desk like, Lord, if I could just pull the rest of the
Mm.
strings out.
All of them.
But you can call somebody or text somebody, and or some God might send somebody your way and be like, hey, how you doing? Not good.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help
Mm-hmm.
me? Like that's the but it's getting over those small moments. And when we look back, it's like, dang, that was nothing. But in the moment, it felt like a mountain when it was
Wow.
really a molehill.
Mm-hmm.
But it can feel like that in the moment though. Like I quit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I quit. Now get
Mhm.
somebody else to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it.
I get that because then you highlight so many great points here as it relates to the need for support.
Mhm.
The need for support, accountability. There's an individual accountability that we have, but then we have a surrounding circle of accountability, right? And the reason why that is important is because there are individuals that are assigned to our life, friendships, mentors,
Mhm.
spiritual leaders, parents, siblings, whatever, that we're right now in this, we're in such controversy right now with being able, and trust is at the core of that, right? We're
Mhm.
at such controversy with being able
Mhm.
to have people suggesting things to us, giving us insight, wisdom. I remember, Brianna, when you said at one point when I was asking you about what it is that you think women need, and you said, I think really women, young women need guidance. And that's a word that a lot of people do not use right now. And so we struggle with hearing.
Mhm.
The scripture says it like this. Good evening, Kay. I'm so glad you're here with us. The scripture says it like this: in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. In the multitude of counsel, there is safety, right? And so when we think about that idea, when we think about counsel, I think people have gotten away. Well, you can't trust everybody. You can't do this and you can't do that. And you can't let everybody know your business. And instead of really building community conversations, community messages, relationship connections, we have done a huge job of driving a wedge in between people connecting with people.
Mhm.
We're losing our safety, but we don't recognize it as that. Then, okay, so watch that, right? We're losing our safety. We don't recognize that. And then we wonder why we're in relation.
Mm.
Mm.
We're
Mm.
by ourselves. And we're like, okay, I ain't got no friends.
You know,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No,
Nope,
I was
go.
just gonna say, with you talking about accountability in relationships, this girl I used to attend college with, I saw that she was working out. This was when I was searching for gyms to figure out where I wanted to work out. And I was just questioning her about it, the environment, the experience and all of that stuff. And she was like, the first thing she said was like, well, let me know when you join because we can be accountability partners. And I'm like, oh no, sis serious about this. And with that, I just want to back up out of it because I'm just like, she was extremely serious about what she was doing. And this
Take
was
care.
really gonna hold me accountable. If we were supposed to be meeting at this 5 p.m. class and you're not at this 5 p.m. class, where are you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Her telling me that had me checking myself to be like, are you serious about what you're about to do? Because she is extremely serious and she's serious about you and your health. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're right. It definitely plays a really big part in community when you're networking and connecting with people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's a powerful point because I think that sometimes we think that, okay, I'll put this question out to you all. Sometimes we think that, accountability, first of all, the whole idea of accountability, it should be mutual.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you going to be mutual with everybody? No, no, that's not the truth. But in certain segments, in certain environments, at your job, at the gym, um, at school, at your community group, whatever levels that you function in, you're going to have some level of accountability. At work, you got to be accountable to your boss. You got to be accountable to so you got this level, accountable to your boss, accountable to your peers. At If you're at a social construct like church, you're accountable to the environment, right? If you're in a Girl Scout cookies club, you're accountable to the Girl Scouts. If you're at the gym, you're accountable to individuals. And sometimes what we are failing to recognize is that we don't have a lot of strength with us right now because we don't even know if we feel supported, connected. So that whole idea that you said that the girl who was going to hold you accountable made you nervous. It's so interesting because I could hear myself saying that, oh my gosh, I'm okay. So if they're going to hold me accountable to being here, I'm not going to disappoint them, but I'm learning not to also disappoint myself.
Right.
Then I'm going to be in shape. I'm going to get these good curves going on, right?
I know that's right.
And then I'm going to get to my goal, right? If accountability is done right, accountability does not mean that somebody gets to order you around. That is not what that is. But good accountability will hold you true to your word.
Which is great because I feel like that would just play a big part in the whole mental health aspect of everything.
You think so?
Yes. Imagine if, okay, just like Bernicia, she's quick to be like, I'm not saying that because as soon as I say it, Shazetta gonna be right on me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like
Right.
with that, every single trinket of a thought that she has, she just got to be like, hold on, because I don't know if I got the capacity for that, because I know she's going to be on top of me. But it's just the simple fact that from even hearing the history of and even what's going on in the present, she's accomplished so much because there was an accountability partner in her corner to hold her true to herself in everything as far as her being a creative.
Mm.
So imagine if she wasn't able to express herself the way she has been able to in everything she's done. She probably would be a lot worse, a lot more miserable, I mean, because creatives, when we don't have a way to be able to get certain things out, it's a lot. But if somebody really held you true to yourself to where they just held you accountable for everything that you said you wanted to do, every foot that you wanted to put forth, I don't think that mental health would be such an enormous issue right now in this time because it's a really big thing right now.
One of the things that we do in the mental health space is we make sure that when people are working on particular areas of their life, we immediately ask them, first off, who's your social support? What do you do from a socialization perspective? Because one of the things, especially with depression, is that when you're isolating, you're just in your own thinking space. Have you ever just been in your own brain and you have nobody to bounce it off of? You are thinking within yourself, and you should build a solid trust about yourself. Absolutely, yes. Within yourself, you should build it. But there are times where you have these blind spots many days and you need the support of other individuals. So one of the things that we ask first off is, do you have a social support? Who do you talk to? What do you do for fun? What do you do for leisure? Who do you spend time with? Who are you close to? Why that's important is because of these reasons of accountability. If somebody's in the space where they want to commit suicide, we want to know who is watching you. We want to know who gets to encourage you. That's why the church has been so important. And I have a big challenge as it relates to how we are walking out our church activities now, because there was a day where we spent all day with the saints. There was a day. And as much as that was long church and we had a whole bunch of hours there with individuals, we would eat and then go back to service. It was a long day. My God, we spent all kinds of time in church, right? But the idea for me today was, I remember those friendships. I remember the people that said, come on, get yourself together. We got to go sing. I remember the people that would say, come on, you can't sing, because if you sing, you can't sing in the choir on Sunday. And that was the epitome of what we wanted to do. Now we are so individualized that we can't hear nobody. We've created this gospel of jealousy. Now nobody trusts anybody sitting next to people in the house of God. And it's not just a church concept, it is a universal, it is a world concept. But I speak to the church because I'm a church girl. Right. I that's my home. I'm gonna always probably be a church girl. I love the church. But if we are not community driven, then what are we? If we can't hear each other, then who are we? Because in the multitude of that council, there was safety. We were not outside of doing all kinds of crazy stuff. If people saw you in the street, they'd be like, I know what church you go to. I know your pastor. I know your
Yes,
parents. It was that
that's
kind of
true.
accountability. And it wasn't from older
Mhm.
people, it was from the young people. Because they're
Hmm.
like, no, you're going to mess it up for us if you do this. Come on. And we
Right.
stayed together. So that mutual accountability was so important. And I think that we're missing that. And if you have children, if you're watching us and you've got kids, how many of the kids do you meet? How many of their friends do you meet? Are even kids spending time together anymore? Do we meet their parents or their families or anything like that? It becomes a huge struggle. What are you guys seeing in your areas regarding that?
Oh, you talking to us?
Regarding what?
Regarding
I'm
regarding the whole
confused.
idea of accountability, relationships, individuals being able to relate to one another.
Mm. Mm. Well, I'm off the scene.
What you mean you off the scene? You work with the
I don't
kids
like. I'm
though.
not.
You work at the school with the kids.
I well, the kids don't have no accountability.
Right.
they
They
don't.
got rude,
Kids
rude
don't have no
comments.
accountability, none whatsoever. Like they not
Mhm.
accountable at all. Like teenagers, mm-mm,
You don't
mm-mm. You can't hold fast to
Wow.
nothing.
You don't even think that they're accountable to
No.
themselves or to their groups?
No,
No.
no. When it comes to when I feel, I listen. When the high schoolers I worked with, and I'm in
Mhm.
elementary now, but the high schoolers I worked with had no
Mhm.
accountability.
Mhm.
No accountability. Like they I don't think like they were accountable to themselves. Like one day, like eyes on the prize, I'm doing this. Yeah, this is what I'm doing. And then when you come back, then you tell me I'm not doing that today. I'm just tapped out. I don't feel like it. But then when you remind them, then you tell me yesterday that you was gonna get a 3.0 this
Mhm.
market period. Uh, I I don't got time for that, Miss Jackson. I had a long day.
Mhm.
We all had a long day. They don't want it sounds good, but when your feet gotta
Mhm.
meet the floor
Mhm.
to start
Mhm.
moving, no. And I think charity begins at home. I don't feel like a lot of parents, and I'm speaking on my own behalf. I don't feel like as a parent I made parents as accountable as I should have. Um I didn't. I didn't. I took a lot of life
Mhm.
situations, and blamed it on that. Okay, that's because we didn't do such and such, or we didn't have blah blah blah, and and I was trying to. It was a period of time where I was trying to play catch up for the things that I couldn't
Mhm.
provide for my daughter. Now because I made it to a better place that kind of did some
Mhm.
damage to her.
Wow.
Because lack of accountability turns kids into and strong
Mhm.
entitlement.
Wow.
I'm great, son. Oh, I'm happy
Facts.
for you, son.
Facts.
It's easy now. I know how to play it now.
Okay, have a
You
good
know
one.
what? I'm dumbfounded by that. Not dumbfounded, but I'm almost speechless by it because it's 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 an amazing thing when a parent can say, I recognize where I made some errors in my own development with my children, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of different things that come into play because I know your story, or at least a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it. And so I'm sitting up here saying, oh my gosh. One of the things that I know that we do in our office is that we immediately we have these conversations about, okay, a kid came to learn this behavior from their environment, and oftentimes we don't often know how much influence we have on our kids, right, in both good and bad ways. And environments put us in positions where we can't do everything that may have been taught to us, or we want to do more. But your ability to be able to say that right now just had me stuck, because I think sometimes as parents we struggle with that area of even knowing that our in our sphere of influence that we have to be accountable to our children, even though we don't know what we're being accountable to them for. Right, we're responsible for their development, yes, but we're also accountable to them to help raise them into particular spaces and places. It doesn't mean that they're going to be perfect. They do get to make their own decisions, and they will. But B, that was powerful. Like, all snaps to you for that, because sometimes that's a big struggle, right? Brian is snapping. He finally arrived. Big
Amen.
snaps to you, right? Wow. And then Carrie, she's on the Facebook side. She said, I think they lack empathy, so they don't take accountability. I am so intrigued by that statement. They lack empathy. Why does empathy play into accountability to you all? What does that look
Don't
like?
care. They don't care.
They
Is that what
don't.
it is? So there is no care, which means that if I don't care, then I can't be accountable. I choose not to be. I don't even want to be.
That's just like
I
kids just being truthful though. You know how like you have a 5-year-old or even a 7-year-old where it's just like you put something on and they be like, you look fat in that. But it's like it's not that they aren't trying to be mean, they're just truthful and they do lack empathy because all they know is they can communicate what they see and what they feel. They could care less about how you feel. You know how like the kids just say random things or things that you just don't expect, or it's like your hair not cute like that, or mom, you didn't look nice when you went outside yesterday. But it's like, where you get that from?
Okay, I got a question.
Like, why would you
I got
say that? But it's their truth. What's your question?
my question is, okay, because I had to learn this from coach, because when I met her, I was like, I was very intrigued about the freedoms, the freedoms that that she gave the children.
Okay.
The
Like,
first two,
yes, I was
or
like,
all of
oh,
them.
oh, they really said that, huh? I was like, okay. So I was like, oh, okay, because I could never. I could
Right.
never.
so
So
you
I
didn't
was like,
punch them out or nothing? they,
no.
they
I
still
was
got
like,
all their teeth.
Mm.
right, right. Even Layla now, I'm like, Layla just one day that girl called me, and we had to I posted it, and she actually took something and put it on the wall where she called me um what she called me, babe? She called me Daddy Mc
It was
Daddy Mc,
it was this funny state. It's in the house. I can't
Daddy
get it right now.
Daddy McChubby.
See, see, no empathy, but that's
I
how she
said,
feel. That's how she
I,
feel.
I said now the thing is, I had to ask myself the question. I said now, was she wrong? And just for this, is she wrong, or am I overly sensitive?
Mm.
The thing is, kid,
Because
that's what I'm saying. They're so truthful though,
right,
right?
right. Because and then it's like, okay, because they say things that you want to say, but society has told you don't do that, because you have to be overly you have to be overly sensitive to people's feelings. But in all actuality, sometimes for me, I can be so overly sensitive that it almost is like it's not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
But
like,
see,
okay,
One of
well,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
so it's like, okay, well, where's the line where it's like, okay, where it's like, okay, I'm so sensitive to the fact that I'm not a help to you. I actually should be telling you this. Now, I actually learned that from Bernicia, because Bernicia, one thing about Bernicia, she's going to stand on whatever she feels like is correct, and she don't care if you don't talk to her for days.
Yes, thank God for you, B. Thank God for you, B. But see, I'm not talking about. So when for the purposes of this conversation, I'm not necessarily talking about just the society and opinions of people from other individuals, loose opinions. I'm talking about the kind of gang up that y'all had on me a couple weeks ago. In the multitude of a circle, in the midst of trusted friends and mutual accountability partners. That's different to me. But what happened there was built out of relationships.
True.
Right? And so can you just go up to somebody and just tell them how you really feel? Yeah, you can offer your opinion, but are they going to listen to you? Maybe not as deeply or as intently as someone who has developed a relationship with you. One of the things that Brian used to say to me probably earlier on when we got married, he's like, listen, you act like I don't live with you and I don't know you. And I would be sitting there acting like he didn't live with me and he didn't know me. That accountability, he is very strong about accountability. Like, listen, okay, so you didn't just do that. You're going to act like that wasn't, you didn't just say that. I think the reality of just being in those spaces with close people is very different than people that are outside of your sphere speaking to spaces. Now, it doesn't mean that their opinion is not true, but it will take a different measure for you when, or if the hope is that if somebody who is close to you is saying this to you and you can receive it because we've developed relationship.
Yeah.
I think that looks different. That's why Bernicia was so powerful in a lot of different seasons with Brian. When he starts to, before I met him and he would tell me stories about Bernicia, it was about that kind of friendship that called them to be accountable even when it was painful. And I think we are lacking those kinds of relationships today. Can I hear you even when I'm pissed at you?
Right.
Ooh,
And that's what I was getting ready to say.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go. I was just agreeing and saying I have one of those.
I was gonna say that opposition from unsafe or safe spaces can feel like an attack, regardless, because we have our mindset on one thing, and here you come interrupting or reminding me of something else. No, I said green beans go, and you telling me no. You said you was gonna be yellow from now on. Like no, I didn't ask you that. Stay over there. It can feel like it can feel like an attack regardless of where it's coming from, and it takes maturity to be able to distinguish. Like, okay, Brian is my friend. He's not going to say anything to me that's going to hurt me. Versus Sister Betty over here, she does not always share my best interest. So I can't take what I can take what she says personally, but if Brian is saying the same thing, I have to reconsider because Brian is my friend. And Brian wouldn't say something to me that's gonna do damage to me. But it takes maturity for that. Going back to what we talked about with kids, I don't feel like teenagers or children in general are able at times to decipher that. Everything feels like an attack because it's opposing what they have in their head. Like, it's like listening to your parents. Like, no, you can't go outside until you clean your room. I really need to go outside. She always drawn. She just won't let me live my life. Just clean your room and you can go live your life. So
but I feel like, though, even when we talk about that now with kids today, did we have those same experiences?
What same experiences?
That we always felt like it was an attack. Did you all always feel attacked when people were saying things to you when you were growing up?
When
I
I hit a
did, but
certain age,
the difference between us, I couldn't respond to it. These kids feel like they could just say it.
Hallelujah.
right?
They could debate it. They could
Yeah,
debate it.
yeah,
I felt it every single solitary day, but I did what they asked me to do. I just didn't say nothing. These kids gonna say something.
yeah,
They
yeah.
mouthy.
Let's have a conversation about that then, Mom.
Okay, so do we feel like though then, okay, so since we're saying that, do we feel like the ability to give voice to children, not that we have the ability, but are we saying that their voices or how they're using their voices are counterproductive to their ability to have empathy and accountability?
It could be,
You
but
think so? Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say maybe it would come with the simple fact that they don't have their. I feel like certain things come with a maturity level as well. So that's what I'm saying. It probably can be counterproductive. At the same token, probably not, because I feel like empathy comes with life experiences and maturity. So in some cases, I know that life experiences are the best teacher versus you, and we all know how that is. People telling you certain stuff to do and you're not listening to that. You just gonna be able to learn because you out there doing what you doing, and gotta be struggling to be able to figure out exactly what somebody was trying to teach you. So I just genuinely feel like, yeah, it could, and then it couldn't. Maybe it's a balance that could be found in it. um but I don't know, that it might be, because even when we were talking about kids just saying something, it's like when you try to take their voice from them, that would obviously make them feel some type of way, or help make them suppress their feelings, or possibly not want your kids to be truthful with you about things, when you genuinely want your child to be able to be comfortable in sharing things with you. So yeah, I feel like it can be counterproductive.
Mm.
It can be, but I'm also not a mom, so I'm just
Yeah, I
It's the
think
pop and the bop
yeah,
for me.
I think with youth, I think with youth things tend to be black and white, and then the gray. They don't have the understanding of the gray that comes with experience. It's
mm-hmm.
like because there's a lot of things. It's like, okay, they get the, well, I could just do this or I could just do that, but you're not understanding like there's middle pieces to this that you don't understand. It could be there's middle pieces that can make this good for you. There's middle pieces that can make this bad for you. There's middle pieces that can make this dangerous for you. But you're thinking of, okay, I can just do this. This is just what this is. And I think that's a lot of things that with kids that I tend to get conversation with, not with just with mine, but with kids that I work with from time to time, where they're just like, okay, well, I could just do this, and it's like, okay, well, I'm kind of looking at what they're thinking about and kind of looking at what they're working with, but it's like they don't understand some of the middle pieces that come with how to get to where they're going. On the flip side of that, it's like as somebody who's older, I do miss that kind of thought process, because me just being able not to be concerned about the middle pieces, or realizing that if I just get rid of some of those things that don't make any sense to the thing, just so that I can get to the end of a thing, will probably be more beneficial. I don't know. Does that make sense?
I think so in a roundabout way, right? But as I'm listening to you, here's my question. Are we responsible as parents or as adults to model what accountability looks like? When we think about the grand scheme of things as parents, as people, who do we have around? Who do we watch our parents be around? What did they do to serve,
Right.
right? People and things. And I was taken to church by my mom, and I watched her be in relationships with people. I watched the church be a staple for us and all of those different things. Are we responsible for modeling empathy, accountability,
I
responsibility?
I think so.
Absolutely. I
Hmm.
think it goes to the fact that we can't be do as I say and not as I do people.
Oh,
Right.
child.
Say
Not
it
no
Not in
more.
this day.
again.
Nope,
Not in
not in
this
this
day.
day.
Say it
Mm-mm.
again.
We can't be that way. because that's the generation that's that's the generation I grew up in. Like
Same.
my grandmother sent, and I God rest her soul, I love her to life. I wish she was here. But she sent me and my sister to church. She didn't go to church with us.
Mm-hmm.
She
Mm-hmm.
sent us and
Mm-hmm.
and was very adamant. Like when we had come on, we had to come on with notes. But she never went to church with us.
Mm.
She never went. Like she went like maybe once or twice.
Baby,
Mm-hmm.
that was Sabrina
Um,
Mars. That was Sabrina Mars all day long. She sent me to church because she said you needed the Lord. I need the Lord in my life, and I just she want me to she want me to learn and and grow in God and everything like that. And she packed and she got me dressed, packed me up, and she sent me right along my way and
I
waited
know that's right.
while the church man left.
My grandmother was the same way with her children to a certain point because my grandmother was in church for all of my life. Oh wow, look at what the Lord
Guess who joined us?
welcome
well,
We talk
welcome,
about accountability.
days.
It's the call
Yes.
out for
welcome.
B.
Welcome to
Oh,
the yeah,
oh my
welcome.
God. Y'all, I am I first
We
off,
welcome
I
you
am
once, we
sorry.
welcome you twice.
Am
Yeah.
a this is so embarrassing. First off, I want to say hello to everybody. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He must be having a delay on his end. We can hear you. Okay, he piped out again. Can you hear us now?
I can. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh my God, y'all, please forgive me. Listen, I promise y'all, I just finished finals and some things last night, right? So I was like, I'm chilling today. I got the text, hey, 6:45, be online. I'm like, all right. So I'm saying to myself, I'm running a couple minutes late. And then Shazetta was like, hey, missed you tonight. I'm like, hold on, we're not going on for another. Y'all are on East Coast time, and I'm on finals brain, Central Standard Time. So please,
So technically speaking, you're on time.
yeah, I'm in my mind. In my mind, I'm
Yeah.
on time, but in actuality, I
In
am
my
super late.
mind.
Which,
Right.
which, it can, if y'all don't mind, me catching up on my thoughts real quick about accountability, because I was sure enough ready, because I certainly got blasted with it this weekend.
Listen, you can catch up on it. They was Brianna was in the midst of a statement and I want her to finish it.
Okay.
So,
And then you popped on. And so
Okay.
then she
Oh,
paused and said, and look cool, because we always looking for a reason to call somebody out amongst this group. We are always looking for a reason. And so
absolutely.
we
That's
started
this
my
is
this
a
fault. Let's
circle of
conversation.
go.
accountability.
Yes, we started this conversation with my call out.
Okay. I'm
Transparency.
so
Just being
mad I
honest.
missed that too.
And I'm not going over it again. Amen. Right? So Bree,
I
finish
won't
your
be back. I
statement.
won't be back.
Okay. I was just saying that it was the same thing with my grandmother as far as I knew that she was sending her children to church while she honestly worked and or did whatever she was doing at home or whatever she had going on in her personal life. But at some point she started to attend church. I don't know exactly what transpired to help her to transition to just attending church, but she was going to church all of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were talking about modeling for children, it's like you just think about the simple fact that I feel like all of our elders and everything are our models, models of what we want to do and what we don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely would say that we should be the ones responsible for modeling accountability, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we always will. Because if you are somebody that don't model accountability and your child is always affected by you not modeling the accountability, then it could turn into a positive for them to figure out how to model that for their children and so on. What Brian
Uh,
saying?
right, because he is steady singing in this screen. Can you see his mouth moving?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was
Like,
talking to somebody else in the car.
he
I
might
thought he was.
be.
I thought he was talking to somebody else too. That's what I'm like.
Come back to the room, sir. Come back. And now we can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Let me ask y'all
I'm
something. Do
listening.
you
I'm
feel like?
listening.
Go ahead, B.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you feel like children can hold adults accountable
Yes, I
without
do.
it being disrespect? Let me tell you something, because the generation that I grew up in, we
That's
be
what I'm
like,
saying. That's why my
I'm being
face is like this.
disrespectful.
Mm-mm.
I'm being disrespectful. What? Like,
Right.
how
I
dare
wish
you?
you would. I know, right? Oh no.
Well, okay, so I could answer that from a clinical perspective and then a different kind of parenting perspective. But since our latecomer is late and we're going to keep reminding him of that tonight, I want
Amen.
him to start with that
Uh,
particular conversation. Like, speak to that because we need your voice there too. What do you think about that?
okay. I'll start there and I'll go back. I have
Okay.
never. My apostle says there is no such thing as a junior Holy Spirit. And if the Holy Spirit is going to be a teacher, he is not a junior for the babies and then a senior for the adults. And
Mm,
so, I think that a lot of times we discount the view or the vision. Let me rephrase that. Many times we discount the voice and the view of the child because we have disrespected the vision of that child. But how do children learn how to talk? By watching their parents. How do they learn how to do what they do? They observe and repeat. That is almost systematic of a baby. I'm going to observe it and I'm going to repeat it. What are some of our funniest reels, right? Ain't it watching little babies cussing? They're like, you're like, I can't believe they're doing this. But when you see them do it, you can't help but laugh. Now, in a normal space, in church brain and old world,
mhm,
they might get in trouble, but nobody stops to think, where did they learn that from?
mhm,
They learned it from what they're watching at their home. And the only problem, I think the great thing that you said, Bree, and the challenge behind it is that when they see their parents doing it and then they repeat it, initially they think it's fine. And how hypocritical is it of us as parents to tell our child, do as I say and not as I do? It's
mhm,
hypocritical because then they watch us in ministry, they watch us doing whatever it is we're doing, and if they see a level of success externally or in the public view, but they're watching our character in a private view suck, then they don't want what we're showing them.
right,
They want what we're showing the world, but
mhm,
they don't want what we're showing them. And to them, we become a liar.
mhm,
So from that standpoint, it does require for us to be um accountable.
mhm.
Um can I go into my thought process, or did you want to?
Absolutely. Nope.
Okay,
Go ahead.
all right. So y'all check this out. So I was spending some real time on accountability this week because I have been in my feelings for about 4 months.
Mhm,
For about 4 months, I've been in my feelings. I have been um, wanting God to do certain things, and God is not doing it in my space. And so I had looked up the definition of the word accountability, and there are a lot of different views of it. So I'm going to give y'all the Adam Watson version, okay? The
mhm,
AWV. Here goes my version of accountability. It says accountability is the responsibility that one initially chooses upon delegation to give an explanation or account in order to have an answer concerning one's conduct, duties, and reactions. I'll say it one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Accountability is the responsibility that one initially chooses upon delegation. And this choice is to give an explanation so that they can have an answer concerning their conduct, duties, and reactions. The first problem with accountability is many times we don't realize it was our choice.
Right.
We made the choice to come into this. We made a choice to submit to this. We made a choice to be like, wherever you send me, I'll go. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. And you know, in the initial course of salvation, you know that lie. I looked at my hands, they were new. I looked at my feet and they were too. We say that all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
is our mind renewed?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that you can have accountability if there's not a sovereign or an authority in your world. So if you don't have an authority in your world, I don't see how you can say that I'm accountable. The best story I can give just happened to me. So just Sunday, right? Sunday, our church opened, Kingdom Culture Dallas, 917 Strauss Road in Cedar Hill, Texas. Great city, Cedar Hill.
Yes.
We open and we are standing room only.
Nice.
We are turning people away, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am standing by the door just to make sure nobody crazy tries to walk in and do something crazy to my apostles. So I'm just standing by the door. I am not guarding the door. I'm just standing by the door. And so we have our leadership and stuff from our church in California. They flew down. Y'all, when I tell y'all the mayor pro tem, who is the mayor, the acting mayor in the absence of the actual mayor, he was there. His wife was there. She is the city schools superintendent. She was there. Members from the Chamber of Commerce, they were there. The mayor of another city was there. A former mayor from Los Angeles was there. Everybody was there. Because we were standing room only, we opened up the doors so that you know, people can get some air, some people can get some chairs, you know, you name it. But what happened was, right when Apostle Sherman got up to preach the word, his armor bearer walks to the door and says, there's too many people coming in here, blah, 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 blah. He closes the door. I'm out in the foyer. I'm good. So I walk around, I go back to the door, and I'm sitting there. And then some leaders walked in from the other campus. They walked in and they walked out. When they walked out, Apostle Jaquette, she stands up and walks over to me, walks past me, closes the door, and says, I don't want anybody else coming through this door. Now, y'all need to be aware that I know everybody who walked out before she came to close the door. Okay. I know all the important people that walked out before she said it. And I said, ma'am, some members of our campus, they walked out, blah, blah. She said, she looked up at me, said, I don't care who's trying to get in this door. Nobody else comes into this door. I said, yes, ma'am, you got it. And at that point, y'all, I was accountable. At that moment, I was delegated. I was chose to be the person. You send me where you want to send me, blah, blah, blah. So now I'm there. But like I said, she doesn't know who comes in and out of that door. But is it my job to care now, or is it my job to be accountable? So when
that's a good statement.
Yeah. So at that point, the superintendent of schools, the mayor pro tem's wife rises to go use the bathroom. And as chance would have it, she's trying to walk out of the door that she walked into. And I leaned forward. I
Who is
said,
Brian talking to?
He's
I
talking
said,
to the
"Ma'am."
screen.
Yeah, I
Oh.
said, ma'am, I
The
said,
door's
I'm
closed,
so
ma'am. You
sorry.
can't come.
I said, nobody else can come out this door, but you can certainly walk, this way, which is the long way past everybody out the door. And she says, okay, deep breath, right? Whew. I send a message out to one of the head campus people who are on the other side of the door. Apostle don't want nobody coming through this door. You got to help me. All right, I got you. I'm sitting there, I'm doing it. I turn around, y'all. Apostle's mother is walking towards the door.
So you
The
can't come
door
through
is
this
closed.
door.
She's walking towards the
No,
door.
ma'am.
See, it's so easy. It's so easy for y'all to say that
No,
because
ma'am.
because y'all weren't there. It's easy for y'all to say that because y'all don't know the honor that Big Mama got when she walks in that room. So anyway, I'm watching her walking towards the door. I literally turn towards the window, right? And so she can see me. And I'm like, and she looks at me quizzically like, what you saying? And I'm like, and I went like,
Wow.
and the look on her face, and then the campus leader catches a clue, and he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Apostle said nobody, blah blah blah." And she looked at me, and then her face kind of changed. She didn't talk to me the rest of the day, but her face kind of changed, and then she turned around and she went in, and I'm standing there, and the rest of the service, y'all, not one time did Apostle Jaquette turn around to make sure I was following her instructions. Why? Because she's the person who is in authority and under authority. I'm a person in authority and under authority. And when she gave that authority, when she gave that order, she did not give that instruction to somebody who did not commit to the vision. I committed to the vision. So whatever she what they tell us to do and it's helping the vision, we're supposed to do that. But because she never turned around and looked at me, not to say attaboy, not to say you better had done what I told you to have done, I'm standing there and the Lord said to me, Adam, you can only say you're submitted and you're accountable when you can follow instructions, when there is no observation.
Right.
There is nobody watching me. I could have snuck a couple of people in the door and she never would have turned around and I might have gotten away with it from outside eyes, but I would have known I disobeyed. And the problem with accountability is huh?
No, because we was talking about the obedience piece and how that matched, and you just
That's so crazy. Everything we talked about, you're literally bringing it back in.
Yeah, it's so important because if you can't say I'm part of this team, organization, whatever you want to name, because it ain't just about Christianity and Jesus and all that stuff, but whatever you might be a part of, if you say I'm part of this team, then you have to recognize that there's an authority, a leader, a visionary in that team. I'm about to go one deeper. So not only are you accountable to your leader and your visionary, but you are accountable, or we are accountable to everybody who's part of the circle. If you're a soldier, you're not just accountable to the president of the United States. You're not just accountable to a general or a lieutenant or staff sergeant. You are also accountable to your fellow soldiers.
Yeah. And
here's the problem. If you take, watch this, y'all, watch, and I'm done. I'm done. If you and your general go and y'all murder a whole village of people and you are listening to your general, and from that space you are obeying,
Mm-hmm.
When you get court-martialed, even if your general gave the order,
Mm-hmm.
you will be released for conduct unbecoming of an officer.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes important because it tells you that regardless of what somebody else says, there's a constitution that we live by, a constitution that we have to abide by. And many people, they want to give the orders, but they don't want to follow instructions. And
Mm-hmm.
many times you'll find that every good leader was a great follower.
Mm-hmm.
If they were able to lead people well, they're able to take instructions well. That's what I got, y'all.
Mm-hmm. I actually love that because Brianna's right. We were hitting a lot of these particular spaces before you got on. Just with the idea of that, the space of really just trying to discussing accountability from different angles, and then being in position where we get to say, now I think we landed on, or we arrived to the space of, do children, and B, I think you asked the question, the idea of children, are we supposed to be can children hold us accountable rather? I think that's what we got, right? And Adam, as you were sharing that in this particular space, and we can't cover it all tonight, maybe we need to extend into next week, because your whole experience was very powerful in the sense that you were following instructions, you were accountable to what you heard and submitted under authority. People get challenged with the wisdom of what they see on the ground, which technically is where people end up in court systems, because they say, I heard this is the order that I've been given, but it wasn't morally conducive to do it, so I disobeyed this in order to be morally correct.
Yes, ma'am.
But they were still, so were they not accountable? Or were they accountable because they were able to be aware of what they chose to do, even though the instruction that they were given was given?
So let me give you a perfect example. Because I was thinking this out, right? I was cracking up laughing while I was thinking about it. Let's say I come to Florida for one of y'all services, and so I'm at South Evo, right? And you give me an instruction. You tell me, hey Adam, go close that door. All right, so I go and I close the door, and I come back to my seat, and then Pastor Brian says, hey Adam, you know what, man, it's hot, go open the door. My thought process was, who do I listen to? Did Shazetta speak? Did Brian speak? Or did the joint Morrises just give me one instruction and then change instruction? And so that was my thought process while I was there. And this is what the Lord said to me, which is the reason why I can carry it over. He said on Sunday, if Jaquette had told you to leave this door closed, and then Sherman told you to open it, what are you going to do? I said, I would have followed both instructions. He said, right, because they're one. If he had told you one and they had told you the other, he said, you have to stop choosing which authority you're going to obey, and let the authorities work it out. Remember, the Bible says that the authorities that be are ordained of God. And it's like, okay, so if Brian says, hey, Adam, open that door, and you're nowhere around to correct him or say, hey, babe, that's on me, I told him to do it, then I'm going to go open the door, and I'm going to let the two of y'all work that out, because of I believe now here goes my comeback to you, is the way I understood it, accountability is a question of you following the instruction of the authority. Not necessarily not the authority of like just what's on the ground. So in that space, if I walk in and the pastors of a ministry both give me two different instructions.
Mm-hmm.
What is, let me put it this way, because I know that there's people that are watching this and waiting for you to answer this so they'll have a reason to disobey. I just felt that. Let me ask the question. Let me ask the question, since both of y'all are on here, Apostle Shazetta, Pastor Brian, in this space, what are best practices from the LYFE Forum when you have, when there's a case of that you might have alternate instructions from joined or joint authority? And I'll lean out of that one.
You know what? That was a trap.
It was a trap. I felt it. I felt it come on the screen. Like,
that was a trap.
Somebody is waiting to be like, well, you know, First Lady told me to do this, but Pastor said this, and so I'm gonna go with what he said, and and all that, and vice versa. But this becomes a question. Accountability ultimately becomes a question of authority in the macro sense, but micro sense, it's almost an internal. It's an internal issue. The move that you make might cause a whole issue. If you do it in the wrong way. So that's why I was like, let me answer it in the safe space.
Can I ask a question before you respond?
Sure.
I'm sorry, because I'm a little confused, because I mean, I know there are houses that are divided like that, but the Bible says, how can two walk and not agree? So I just can't see. I don't know. From what I know about Brian and Shazetta Bars, let's just say that. If I were to go to say, hey, Brian, can we do X, Y, and Z? And he says no, and I don't like the response, I'm gonna go X. Apostle's gonna say, what did Brian say? It's
I
like
never said that. Right, but I never said.
I'm asking. I'm saying that I don't understand how that could have possibly have happened, because I'm just the type of person, like, I'm going to agree in public and disagree behind the scenes. Like, okay, whatever he said, then we're going to talk about it behind here, but we never want to present a undivided front. Like, that's just crazy.
But Bernicia, that's you. So let me re-ask the question. That is you. So let me re-ask the question. We're all sitting in church, right? Shazette, Brian is up leading worship, right? Gone out in a trance. Shazetta says it's cold in here, right? So she leans back to you. You're sitting directly behind her, and she goes, "B, it's hot in here. Go open that door." And so you get up. The whole world hasn't seen this instruction, so you go up and you go. She says it's hot. Open the door. He's in the coolness of heaven, and he's freezing. So you open the door, right? She comes back. You come back and you sit down. You followed instruction. Or let's say you're coming back to your seat after following instruction, and then Brian goes, "Bernicia, what are you doing? It's freezing. Go." Sister, go open the door. It's not disrespectful. He doesn't know what happened. It is simply a matter of two different instructions from authority. And it's not that they don't agree. Why? Because just like you said, if you went to her and she said, hold on, do what my husband said. If you went to him, do what my wife said. There's no war there. But if this is a public thing where you've been given instruction, two different instructions, and the city and the world or the room doesn't know, what should you do? And while I'm explaining that, I felt somebody go, I want to see how this one's going to turn out. So somebody is looking for an excuse to choose who they're going to obey or not. What are they responsible for being, or how are they responsible? Who should they be accountable to? And when I saw that, for me, that steps into leader space, pastor space. And because we are a movement, but there is a ministry, apostolic movement flow here. I'm like, okay, let the leaders answer, so that can't nobody be like, I was listening to the LYFE Forum and Prophet Adam was talking and he's no, let's not do that. So that's the reason why I asked the question to the leaders.
Hey, Emma, glad to have you on. I'm going to give a response, and then I'm going to jump off this call because I am late for another meeting. Management, right? Here's my response to that. I think that's more of a communication issue that has nothing to do with the dynamics of what goes on, right? So, which is what leads us back to relationship. Abby, you're so good with this, because relationship would say, okay, I'm going to be concerned about all of the dynamics. If I am in tune with my husband, I know that although I might be hot, putting cold air on him while he's in worship is going to make him sick later. And I don't want to do that, right? So I'm thinking from a broad perspective. Now, if somebody's in that position, so to me, that's a communication issue. But if somebody ends up in that position amongst us, what we're not going to do is I'm always going to consider why somebody is challenged with being accountable to one or the other of us when it is just one of us. So it's a communication issue. Then there's a heart issue. So everybody needs to check their own hearts as it relates to how we respond here, right?
Okay.
But we follow, I think, when the leaders are well, if there are two leaders, or if you have blended leadership, or even one leadership, right? If the leaders are well, the communication will be understood beyond the words that are said.
Okay.
So I'd stop in the midst of that. If B was in that position and she says, I'm saying to her, you know what, go open this door. B should immediately be able to say to me, but your husband said this, so that I can stop and evaluate what he said.
Okay.
Versus just rushing to, okay, well, let me just do what I've heard. So that there is no conflict later. That would be my position, because we want all things done decently and in order. We want things to not just be well for this moment, but things to be well after this moment. That would be the goal.
That's
right?
Awesome.
But at the end of the day, after that evaluation, and if it's still something that I'm like, I'll cover this space, you won't need to cover this in this way, I think we still need to do it because of this, then she probably would follow that, because she's hearing my heart and she has watched. This is where the modeling comes in, right? You watch my listening to you, that's consideration. You watching my evaluation, so that I'm thinking the whole process through in order to avoid contention, and then I still come to a decision.
That's great.
That's a model that I think people miss, because we are bipolar. Well, she said this and she said this, so I'm going to stand there and watch the controversy. There is none.
Right.
There's no controversy.
Right.
We shut all of those doors because it's not necessary. It's not even a big enough deal to have one, because what you're really saying is, if you're identifying that who should I listen to, then 9 times out of 10, you think that there's something going on in the couple anyway. It ain't got nothing to do with the moment.
Got it.
So I think that we need to really be careful about those spaces, and then say, ooh, this conversation turned into something else. And I love it.
I was just going to say, blame it on Adam, but
it's
always a good thing.
Always. But it started in this trek of, and I think that we still need to do the service of having different blends of how we look at accountability. But that was a good example, because we have more people that are connected in church spaces. I will cycle back with this, and then I'm going to end this stream. It proves that we need to work more on relationship anyway, because we don't know those who labor among us.
Right.
And the knowing is the relatability, not just the hearing. If I know Bree's heart, then I understand what would be her motive with her words versus just hearing her words. And we've got to be more relational in this space that helps us be accountable. So Kay's statement about people not having empathy, that just suggests to me that nobody is feeling each other anymore. And the feeling helps us to know, and the knowing helps us to be accountable.
That's
at
awesome.
that stage. Now, there are some spaces as children, right? We say this, listen, I'm your parent, just do it as I say, and they hate it until they grow to feel it. And then they live it with their own children.
Mhm.
That's another part of that conversation I think we need to have next week, because we all gonna be on time.
I was just about to
You
say,
know
I
what?
think we're gonna hold Adam
Listen,
accountable next week.
listen. I want to. Who sent out the 6:45 text?
I did, of
I
course.
pass you.
I think that I think that it's very important for us to maybe recognize that everybody ain't on the blessed East Coast. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm just gonna put it that way. You know, praise God. You know what I mean? So
Adam
because I
Watson.
really
Can I
was.
can I just piggyback off of there? And I want this to be on screen, because I want a clip of this. Ain't nobody told you to get out of the graces of the East Coast.
I'm
You knew
see,
exactly.
this is
You
where
knew exactly the time that I was talking about.
this is
Look at
where
Brian.
when
Look,
you,
look.
ma'am, are you
What?
stating, just so that I understand you correctly, did you just say that nobody told you to leave the East Coast?
Don't start. Don't start. Lord.
Wait, let me dial that back, because I thought it was one of the. I just felt it when you said it. Right, all of those years ago. How about that? You knew what time I was talking about.
No. First
Say.
of all, to be honest, I was not thinking. I did not think 6:45 y'all time means 5:45 mine. It really wasn't. And my only excuse that I have for that is I have been on finals for a couple of weeks now, and
Got
so
it.
I'm literally I am literally I got one more paper that I have to finish tonight, and then tomorrow I have a free day.
Mhm.
And then most of Thursday, and then I'm into my next course. So
Got
it
it.
was really just me just blanking out. So forgive me for that.
No problem. Listen, those of you that are
Great
following
gift.
us and joining us tonight, you always have the ability, if you want to sow into our work, we put on LYFE Forum, we put on the mental health webinars, we make sure that we stream in order for individuals to get connected. Do us a favor and sow back into the work. This is a 501c3 nonprofit status organization. All of your contributions are tax deductible. We would love to receive your contribution so that we can continue the work. This doesn't go to us, it goes to the work that we want to provide to many other individuals. And so we appreciate you all so much for being here with us. Good evening, Ronald. I think everybody got that text that Adam did. It's that late text, because we got people jumping on now. We are so grateful.
Hi,
Ronald,
RJ. That's
to
RJ.
have you.
That's my RJ. That's RJ from Full Deliverance. Hi, RJ. How are
RJ,
you,
look
sir?
at you. Glad that you were able to jump on tonight. Listen, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,
Standard.
6
That
p.m.
would be 6 p.m. Central Standard
Central.
Time
Yes,
and
and then
4
4
p.m. Pacific
Pacific.
Standard.
Listen, thank you for the
Pacific.
time zones. Yes, we will see you all next week. We appreciate you all for joining us. We're going to continue this conversation, because obviously we got some more to talk about with this. Good night, everybody.